let me know if this is you. You're writing out your draft or you're in the outlining process and you're trying to come up with character ideas, figure out their personality, or maybe you're plotting out your story and you're trying to come up with new ideas and but you don't really have like a clear direction of where to take the story, and you're just thinking about the bigger picture but you're also trying to write out the smaller details as well. So you kind of need like a bit of focus and direction on where to take the story and things like that. Well, here's a solution for you: asking questions. There's a reason why I titled the video conquer writer's block by asking questions. And also, a more important thing I noted was questions leads to answers. Here's why I state that. So by asking yourself how, what, when, why, that makes you focus and lock in on like what particular area you're trying to like get ideas for. So one thing to keep in mind is not really thinking too much about the bigger picture when you're writing out ideas at first. You just want to get ideas out there. So by asking these questions, you're able to focus in on what area you want or need ideas for the plot. I'm going to show you some examples later on, so wait and see. But yeah, by asking questions, it clearly helps you understand like the information you need in order to form an idea. So these questions are just here to help you understand, okay, if I answer this question right here, then it will help me understand how the plot can move forward from here on out. And let me show you some examples. Yo, let me know in the comment section if this is a cool transition or not. Hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. Is this the right document? Yeah. Okay. Watch this. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Boom. Was that cool? Was full screen to document? Was that cool? Like let me let me know in the comments. I don't know. I just thought of it. I was like, yo, that might be it's something I've never seen before on YouTube where people really be doing that. I see people like make a cut and stuff, but I don't know. I never really see people just like move the camera and then you're able to see what they want you to see. Okay, anyways, moving on. Now, here's an example, right? This is my chapter by chapter outline for one of my stories. And one thing I do is I leave comments for when I'm outlining and stuff like that. And here's an example I have, right? So I was trying to understand my character, my main character, Kian. And so I asked myself like some questions like, you know, what makes Kian who he is despite him having good parenting, you know, because he's a spoiled brat, right? He's entitled, he's obnoxious and things like that, but he has great parents, like parents with morals, integrity, people respect them, love them for who they are. And one thing by asking this question, I was able to understand my character a little more, like able to think about and focusing on what makes him who he is. So that's what brought me to ideas of lack of attention from them, because this is a kingdom type of story. So there's kings, there's queens, and Kian is a prince, and that's what makes him entitled and things like that. But that's why I had to think of ways where his parents being good like negates, like there's something that separates them between the two that like negates their effects on him. So it could be weird he gets lack of attention from them because they're too busy, because they're running a whole kingdom. Also head being inflated by civilians. One thing is I put in the story is because he's a prince, people give him special treatment, of course, because of his title, of his birthright. So that kind of made him feel very special just from existence alone. And yeah, and also the clear difference in treatment compared to others. So, of course, seeing how if you see yourself being treated better than civilians treat their own children, then you would think that like you're special, of course. Like you're going to think the best out of yourself. And your head is going to be inflated, delusional, and you're going to have like a big ego about yourself. So that's what happened to my character, and I was trying to understand him more, and just asking that first question already lead to these types of answers or these types of ideas for myself. in order to like implement it into the story and have readers understand why my character acts a certain way, even though his parents are the complete opposite of him. So that's one way that really helped me. Another thing I wrote down here is, because it's like with the comments for Google Docs, you could basically write like a chain of ideas, no, a chain of comments, I mean. But I use it to make a chain of ideas. That's really what I was trying to say. But yeah, so another thing that led to me thinking was, there's no reason to doubt that he's gonna be the next king, because he's the prince. He's the only prince. He's the only child. So there's no doubt in his mind that he's gonna be the next king anyway. So it's like his destiny's all written out for him. So he doesn't feel like he has to work hard for anything. It doesn't have to build his character at all, honestly. And so like this leads to like my other questions. Like this is another example. How does he react when he hears stories about his father? He doesn't care because he doesn't get his attention. Only sees him with his permanent damage, because right now I have like the king sick and all. And because of like he's yeah, from a war that happened when like Kian was like very very young. The king kind of had to like do a little bit of sacrificing of his own body to in order to save it, not really save his kingdom, but to protect his kingdom, and so that the kingdom don't get taken over and things like that. But Kian doesn't really know him from then. He just seen him from when he's like weak and sick all the time. And that's kind of the reason why he doesn't really expect his father 100%, because he only knows him in his weakened state. So that's kind of what I was going for when I was coming up with that question. Was like I'm trying to think of ways to where even if he was to hear his father's heroics and like his past stories that like led him to who he is today, like what make him not be phased by that. So that's what made me think of this question, and these were some of the solutions I thought of when thinking about that. So I was thinking like maybe King would be thinking about like, oh, does he not recognize his value as king? Like, who cares if a few civilians die? Like, protecting his kingdom. Like, who cares? Like, you're the king. You're the most important piece of the kingdom. Like, the piece of the puzzle, basically. So that's what made me think about that. Something else I could reference to is, so like for this part right here, this is where I just wanted to get an idea of what I wanted to showcase in chapter 2. So I just asked myself the question, what do I want to showcase? And I just gave it some thought, and I just thought of, okay, I want to showcase Kian's intelligence, how he takes advantage of his position, how he treats people, how he views himself in the kingdom. That's what made me think about some scenes, like maybe him in a classroom, how he treats other kids around his age, or maybe just private tutoring, how he sees and how it, okay, now I remember. The private tutoring was to showcase his intelligence and how smart he is. Scenes of the special treatment, I guess, yeah, showcase that in the second chapter. But like that, see how this one question like lead to these possibilities of what I could have down for this chapter. You know, of course it's not like drawn out like fully detailed ideas, but it's leading to a direction, like it's leading to like a seed I could plant to grow the roots and see where it could lead to. Like maybe some of these ideas could like lead to a longer road, a longer path that where the seed could actually grow into like a tall tree. If you get what I'm saying. But yeah, anything else? Yeah, there's a lot of ideas that I have that if I'm stuck at any point in time in my story, I just write down some questions, and see where it could lead to any possibilities afterwards, instead of, because what happens is of course it's gonna happen eventually or inevitably, but you're gonna think about the bigger picture. You're gonna think about okay, maybe you do have some ideas, but you're trying to think about like how is this gonna, or when you don't have ideas, let's just say how it you're also thinking at the same time how you're gonna be able to connect to like to the bigger picture and everything else you want to happen later on in the story. especially if you have an ending in mind, of course. But by asking yourself questions, you kind of want to, instead of like zooming out, you zoom in. You're zooming into this particular scene, this particular moment of the story, and of course, you're gonna get back into the bigger picture, but you're just zooming in for that moment, for that particular part of the story to see what ideas you could come up with that part. Now, actually, yeah, I do have another document I could show you because I've done this for my. This is more like my general ideas, like plot line. So like I just split some parts into arcs and things like that. But I do the same thing for this part right here. But so like let me see if I could find another example, like a better example. So yeah, so like when Kian gets eventually gets kicked out of his kingdom, I talked about how this is the first time he feels isolated and he's lacking in influence. And one question I had was like, how do people in Satan's village react when they learn that this is like the prince? Because I was like thinking in my head, this is the prince of this whole kingdom. They would know who he is. So how would they not give him special treatment at all? And one thing I came up with is like everyone knows the reason why he was kicked out. Maybe there's a letter or announcement that was made before he even arrived that let everyone know, you know, why he's there and what's his purpose of being there, and also addressing the things he's done that kind of led to this point of him going over there, which could also like help negate some of the biasness by the people for having the prince show up into their town or their village, I should say, and since he's going to be spending some time there, so like that's how it also helped me. So I'll say this, like it also helps me like counteract like plot holes, like potential plot holes that I'd be noticing and seeing in the story. So by asking these questions, it helps me keep my story consistent as well. If you're trying to keep your story consistent and decrease the amount of plot holes that's happening in the story, asking yourself questions like these will help a ton. It helps a lot. Uh, yeah, for sure, it definitely helps. But next thing is, I'll show this. This is probably like the last one I'm gonna show. Uh, Eventually, he's gonna run away and like get captured by bandits and things like that. I posed this question here already about him running away, of how it affects the story. Haven't really fully thought about ideas for this part yet, but so sometimes what I do is I just leave the questions there if I haven't thought about it, in terms of like I haven't really generated any ideas yet. But of course, like leaving this question here is gonna, keep the question in the back of my mind. And then every time I go back to this document, I can remember this question and remember to answer this eventually. Eventually, of course. But and it is like there's no problem, like there's no rules in outlining or drafting, so you can always just move on and come back to this question. So I decided just to move on to this, right? And I asked myself how he's going to transition from being captured by bandits to like maybe ending up in slavery. So I was thinking maybe the bandits could cut off his hair so people don't recognize him. How the bandits will react when Kian states that he's like the prince of this kingdom. Maybe the bandits' background will help. Uh, maybe before the prince was kicked out of the capital, I should say, before he was kicked out of the capital, maybe the king takes away like maybe like a necklace or like something that symbolizes that he's the prince, and he's so that anytime he walks around, people know who he is and what he represents. But maybe the king takes that away before he even got kicked out and before he had to leave the capital. So people outside of like the capital who haven't really seen the prince before, they start doubting his identity because he doesn't have those pendants or any type of jewelry that showcase his position, his hierarchy, I guess, his hierarchy position. So that's what helped me come up with these ideas. But yeah, hopefully these examples help you understand where I'm coming from and what I potentially mean by like questions leads to answers, and how that could help support your story and your journey as well, and help you overcome writer's block as a whole. As these certainly helped me a ton. Like this is probably one of my top three methods into coming up with story ideas in general and things like that, and definitely making sure my idea stays consistent. And is probably the number one thing it's like my go-to move when it comes to helping clients as well, and helping them generate new ideas as a whole, and help them with story consistency and plot holes and things like that. Like if you were to work with me, the first thing I'm gonna do is ask a ton of questions, like so many questions you might be sick of me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I have a video I'm probably gonna showcase near somewhere in the screen, where I'm gonna showcase a video of me showing some other strategies I use to help conquer writer's block. Of course, asking questions is part of the video as well, but there's some other ways, because I put like five. I put five in the title, but it's six in total. It's six because I did add a bonus one in there. But yeah, you go check those out. And but one more thing before you go, if you want to work with me, or if you're struggling to finish your outline or your first draft or anything like that, damn, I need some water. But yeah, if you're struggling with anything like that, and you would like some assistance with that, with generating new ideas, it could be plot ideas, character ideas, setting, anything like that. If you need help with anything like that, you could click the link down below, and then we could set up a one-on-one call, like a free consultation call, to see if we were able to work together. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. This is like a first date type of thing, so yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so anyways, hope this helps, and hopefully my examples help nail the head in the coffin of what I mean by asking questions, how questions lead to answers. And yeah, leave anything in the comment section down below if anything you don't understand or need help with. And yeah, thanks for watching.